All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We are talking about the Detroit Lions in tonight's video. 1-0 start to their season, taking down the Los Angeles Rams 26-20. They won the game with a beautiful 8-yard play, 70-yard touchdown drive in overtime. 7 of those plays were actually runs. They covered 60 total yards on those 7 runs. Dan Campbell absolutely loved it. Jared Goff looked all right. David Montgomery, especially in the fourth quarter overtime period, looked like a freaking beast. And I'm being real here. Honestly, the biggest thing I saw from the Detroit Lions was Jamison Williams having his first career 100-yard receiving game, finishing with 5 catches for 121 yards. This to me is still, a top 2 team in the NFC. I have like this biasy towards the San Francisco 49ers because I'm a Packers fan and they always break my heart. But, San Francisco was a really good team. But I do think Detroit, obviously that was the NFC Championship game last year. Detroit is, one of, if not the best team in the NFC. And, week one's always really interesting because a lot of people like to overreact. For example, I was just reading an article where they were doing power rankings. The Detroit Lions at this time last week were ranked number 2. Now they're ranked number 5. But what a great problem to have that you win a game against one of the best NFC teams, one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the NFC in Matt Stafford, and you're still 1-0. They're 1-0, man. Like, who really cares about the nitty-gritty meat and potatoes of it? We're going to get into it. We're going to go through a couple of things that I did a live show a couple of days ago. We do a football podcast called Let's Talk Football. I'll link it down below if you guys want to watch it, or listen to it on streaming sites. A lot of people were not necessarily, like my Lions fans watching this video, weren't worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, the lack of offensive production. We're going to run through everything in today's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Lions fans, love you guys very much. What a great week 1 victory, just like last year, setting the tone for the rest of the season. Before we get into it, if we try and get this video to 250 likes, folks, that would mean the absolute world to me. A win is a win. I watched almost every single football game at this point in time from last week, and I've made a boatload of videos on a bunch of different teams, and it's crazy, man. There's always pessimism in the air, and that's not anything I got in my comment section for the Detroit Lions. Everybody is just happy. They're relieved in the Detroit Lions victory. How can you complain about that? But my point I'm trying to make here is week 1, people freak out. Oh, preseason, people freak out. But week 1 of the regular season, it's a trial era for a lot of teams because the preseason, 4 games to 3, and now you have a regular season 16 to 17. And does that make the biggest difference in the world? No, but preseason, especially in today's era, a lot of guys don't rip starters offensively or defensively for pretty much all of preseason. So you come into week 1 with a ton of rust, and I did a statistic where it's like the passing touchdowns from this year and last year compared to the last like 6 to 10 years, I mean, they're like almost cut in half. I watched way too much football this weekend, and the point I'm just trying to make is almost every team looked bad. Even the Chiefs game where they took down the Baltimore Ravens, the AFC Championship game last year, there were still Chiefs fans in my comments complaining about how they were not perfect. So let's get into some stuff for the Detroit Lions, because I read a great article, probably my favorite article, or my favorite writer. He writes for The Athletic on the Detroit Lions, and Colton Pouncey, and he did a really good job kind of just proving all of the overreactors, not necessarily from Lions fans. I can get and understand having some concerns, specifically with Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown combined for only 58 yards on only 7 receptions. Keep in mind, Jared Goff, 18 to 28, 217 yards, a touchdown, and a very uncharacteristic interception. But St. Brown was targeted 3 times. He only caught the ball 3 catches for 13 yards. Sam Laporta, as we know, missed a bunch of a very long period of training camp with that hamstring injury. He had 4 catches for 45 yards. And Dan Campbell had a good quote about St. Brown saying, we called his number a couple of times. It just felt like for whatever reason, coverage took it away or something happens on the inside slant and he kind of trips on it. These are just things that it's just one of those games, but he's, somebody we think about. I mean, that doesn't go away. So pretty much alluding to they game planned to include Amon-Ra St. Brown, but sometimes things just don't work out. Keep in mind, though, the Detroit Lions really did not throw the football a lot. Jared Goff, 28 passing attempts. That seems like a lot, but unfortunately, it's 2024. That would have been tied for the second fewest he threw in a football game for the entire 2023 season, 28 attempts. So getting to the run game, it was weird. The second half was weird. Detroit 10-3 lead at halftime, and it was very indicative of pretty much every game from the season. Both teams starting slow offensively, knocking the rust off, getting back into the groove of things, hitting people, getting hit at full speed. You get the whole shebang. Seven of Detroit's 8 plays in overtimes were run. They totaled 60 of Detroit's 70 yards in that overtime. And David Montgomery in the game, huge winner. Sorry, I had to rip this in out. Just like Jameson Williams, very good game. 91 total rushing yards. 45 of those were in overtime. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because before overtime period, David Montgomery, his last carry was with a little bit over 12 minutes left in the third quarter. And yes, we did see Jahmyr Gibbs. He ran 11 times for 40 yards and a touchdown. But still, he had 74 total yards from scrimmage on 15 total touchdowns, but almost all of that was through the passing game, right? He only had 40 total rushing yards. So we want to see more run game incorporation, specifically with David Montgomery, but it's just like, Jared Goff, 217 yards passing. He only threw it 218 times. So they got away from the run game, and I heavily anticipate against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, who take a ton of pride in their rush defense. I anticipate them to jam it up their throat, not in a weird way, obviously, but I anticipate Dave Montgomery to easily reach 20 carries. Jahmyr Gibbs easily, once again, reach 10 carries. But I think they're going to try to control the time of possession, with the running backs, just to open everything up, open the game up for Jared Goff. And then finally, we have defensively, Matt Stafford, once again, back in Ford Field. He had a really good game once again. They only had 20 points, though, and they only had 3.6 yards per rush and a total of 83 rushing yards. They were 2 of 5 in the red zone, that bend don't break mentality, and he was pressured 27 times. Detroit's defense recorded 25 splash plays in the game, tied for 8th most across the NFL. And I want to use a guy like, Terrion Arnold looked like a freaking beast. Carlton Davis looked like a freaking beast. They gave up only 20 points. I get it. Puka got injured. There's some weird stuff going on with injuries on their offensive line, but still, you're going up against one of the best QBs in the NFC and the NFL. And Aiden Hutchinson was one of those guys in my live stream that a lot of people were saying, or not, obviously talking bad about him, but he didn't record anything too crazy. He had a sack, 5 total tackles. That's still pretty crazy. That's pretty impressive. That would be on pace for 17 sacks in the season. But he finished the game with a league high 11 pressures. He had a pass rush win rate of 47.7%, which is 14% higher than the next closest edge rusher. PFF pass rush grade at 95.7. For context, Hutch averaged 5.9 pressures per game and had a win rate of 21.3% and a pass rush grade of 91.2% in 2023. So the point is, defense still looked good to me. It was just week one. Like, offense or defense, any nitpicking anybody wants to do, is week one of the regular season, and you won it. You won it in home in an overtime thriller. So I'm going to take that. I hope you guys do too. I know you guys do too. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. We'll get another Lions video out to you guys in the next week, but we'll see you until then. Peace.